What's up, guys? Welcome back to the rating climb. Average Joe is 1262. We're actually playing someone 1262. They play d4. I'm going to go with knight to f6. And maybe we'll... Okay, perfect. c4. So this is pretty common as you get to the higher levels. If they play d4 and you play knight f6, a lot of times you're going to see c4. And we can actually play a Gambit here. This is one on my list, which I don't believe we've actually played yet. The Budapest Gambit. If you want kind of an aggressive attacking opening, this is a good way to do it. And then there's two ways you can actually play this, knight to g4 or knight to e4. I'm going to go knight to e4 this time. They're both kind of tricky for different reasons, and we'll see that in just a second. Let me actually readjust my board. I feel like it's a little bit off centered. There we go. Just a little bit better. Okay, so what are we doing here? It looks like our knight's kind of trapped, right? Like we can't go anywhere. The idea is, in a lot of cases, we have this bishop to b4 check, which is very dangerous and gives us an option to probably just trade off the knight. So it's not an issue. They can play a3 to stop that. They don't in this game. There's still some tricky ways that we can play, even if they do a3. Goes bishop e3. Now, it's kind of a weird move. The reason it's a weird move, and this is something that you want to remember, is usually you don't want to block your e-pawn when your bishop's not developed. Because you need to move the bishop to get... You need to move the pawn to get the bishop out, right? And you can't do that if it's being blocked. So that's why I don't really think that's such a great move. I think I'm probably just going to continue with the normal bishop to b4 check just to get my pieces out quickly and put the pressure on the king. Notice we can castle right away if we need to, which is nice. So I think white has to play like knight to d2. Okay, bishop to d2. I guess that's an option. It seems like a waste of time, so I think they could have probably found a more useful move. So I'm just wondering, how do we want to proceed here? Of course, you can just trade and then keep developing. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I might also think about a move like queen e7 to defend my bishop and have the option to recapture with check, and then I'm going to be able to maybe win some material. Maybe not after knight d2. It gets a little bit interesting. There's also ideas like this, although I think white could play g3, and I don't really see that I have anything, so I'm probably not going to do that. I think I will just most likely trade here. Yeah, let's just go ahead and trade. I'm not actually sure if this is the best way to play this, but the point is, look at white's pawns. Very weak. We have targets, and I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to play knight c6, and I'm just going to try to take advantage of this guy. But notice, even though we are black, we have a lead in development. We have two pieces out, and white only has one. And so already I'm feeling pretty good about the situation. Okay, we can castle. Yeah, they do defend. So we can castle and then try to use our rook to attack the pawn. That makes a lot of sense. You can also gambit this pawn, just let them take you, just to let your bishop out quickly. But in this particular case, I don't know that I'm going to do that. I think I might just try to use my rook. So let me just go ahead and castle. Castling is a move I'm going to do pretty much anyway. And so I'm going to just start with that. Okay, e3 is a good move. Probably lets out the bishop. I think we should just keep going with the plan of attacking here. Let's go, rook e8. Yeah, we'll just try to get our pawn back and then keep going from there. All right, now I have a question for you guys. Do you think I should take or should I go back? All right, well, hopefully you didn't say go back. This is what's called the Noah's Ark trap. If I go back, white can play b4. I have to go back. Then they can play c5. They have this nice pawn chain, and my bishop is totally trapped, okay? So you have to watch out for the Noah's Ark trap, and going back would definitely be a mistake. Now, if I'm going to go back, I could go back all the way to f8. That's not so terrible. The bishop actually is still a useful piece there because it controls all of these squares, and it's kind of just tucked away from being attacked. Or I could trade it. I think those would be the two options that make the most sense. Now, usually when my opponent has a cramped position, their position's not totally cramped, but it's a little bit. trading just kind of makes things easier for them. So I actually think in this case I will keep the bishop, but I just have to make sure I avoid the Noah's Ark trap. That's why I'm going to go all the way back to f8. Okay, and usually one of the most important, this is really important. One of the most important reasons for getting your bishops out is so that you can get your rooks to the center of the board. Okay, like this bishop is stopping this rook from going to the center. So moving it out is important for that reason. So what I've done on this side of the board is I've moved the bishop out, I've castled, I've got my rook to the center. Now I'm bringing it back. It's not a big deal. It's not blocking any rook in the corner from coming to the center. So that's totally fine for me to bring my bishop back there. Okay, that would be very different if my rook was still over here. Then I wouldn't want to play a move like this. I would much rather just trade the bishop or something. Okay, so that's why I think bishop f8 is okay here. All right, let's just check. Are there any sacrifices or something I have to worry about? I don't think so. There's not a follow-up with the knight because my queen would take it. This is what's called a Greek gift sacrifice. You have to watch out for it, but they need the knight and the queen to be able to follow up. Since the knight can't go there, I think I'm in good shape. So we do have 2 attackers on the pawn, only 1 defender. Let's go ahead and capture that back, okay? And they do take, and we'll take back. So we got our pawn back. And we have a nice position, I think. I think our position is very solid. I mean, I think white's is too. I think this is a pretty equal position. But that's totally fine. So a rook's under attack. I like the rook being in the center. So I think I'm going to leave it here. I could, go here, but white hasn't even castled. That doesn't really make sense. Okay, the other thing about going here is look at this queen. And now I have to worry about anywhere that this knight moves, my rook is going to be under attack, right? So I don't like that. I think we just go all the way back. Okay, they do castle right away. And I think I'm just going to play d6. It does block my bishop, but I really need to get this guy out. And so I think just d6, maybe just bishop g4 is what I'm going to do. Question for you guys, what if I play d5? Do you think that's a better move? Answer is no, because if I play d5 and they take me and I try to take back, I walk into the discovered attack, check, and I'm going to lose my queen. Okay, so you got to watch out for those tactics. Let me play d6 here, and they do immediately attack me. Okay, so usually when this happens, you have 2 options. You could play h6 just to move the pawn away, or you could play g6 and just block it off. I think I'm going to play g6 this time, and the reason is because normally when you do this, you create dark squared weaknesses, right? But if you look carefully at the position, I'm the one who has the dark squared bishop, and my opponent does not. That guy's already been traded off, which means this is much less dangerous. If you were to flip the circumstances where I didn't have this bishop, but my opponent had their dark squared bishop, I would never play this move, right? Because the dark square weaknesses would destroy me. But because I'm the one who has the bishop, I'm just going to put that bishop right there, and I'm pretty happy with my position. Okay, there's not a way for white to easily take advantage of these weaknesses because I have the bishop and they don't. Rook b1, they want to go here. That makes sense. Let's develop this guy and pin the knight while we're at it. And this is an annoying move because if white lets me, I probably will take that and mess up their pawn structure. So they do defend, which makes sense. So I'm looking for how to get this rook into the game. So I think I'm going to move my queen somewhere so that the rook can slide over. I'm trying to figure out where do I want to move it to. You can always just go to e7. I think I'll just do the simple move. And then maybe slide this guy over. Okay, so he wants to trade. I don't really want to give up my bishop for the knight without getting some kind of compensation. So I don't think I'm going to do that. There is bishop f5, which is a skewer. It does allow bishop d3, though. We'll probably have to trade, which is fine. I think that's okay. So let's go bishop f5. We'll trade the bishops off and just go into the end game. So far, I don't think white's made any big mistakes, but just keep playing solid. When you're at the 1300 level, usually at some point in the game, your opponent is going to mess something up. And that's one of the best strategies, I think, to win at this level is to just play solid and wait for their mistake, and then you capitalize on it. Okay? And we'll see if that is true in this game. They have to play bishop d3. There we go. I will go ahead and just trade it. And I'm trying to think where this rook should go. It's not like a super easy position to figure this out. Also could offer a queen trade. Yeah, we'll offer a queen trade. And one of the things about, okay, they don't want to trade. I was going to say it would activate my rook, so they avoid that. I think I might just go here and double up my rooks. I might just do that. Let's go rook e7. And I am paying attention to the fact that this is defended by my queen, but I want to make sure that like after a move like knight d2 or knight g5, that I would, ooh. That's exactly what I'm talking about, right? You're playing at 1200. They're playing pretty good most of the game, but then there's some moment where they blunder, right? And that's what we're going to capitalize on. Most of the time that's going to happen, right? This person was playing very quickly. You could kind of see they weren't thinking through everything. They were just moving, and that's what happens sometimes, right? All right, so we got the queen. Let's go ahead and invade. We'll just start attacking stuff. We'll take another pawn here. All right, where do I want to move my queen to? Maybe I'll just go here. Let's see. I'll just go here to get away from the pieces. This is defended, so we're not worried about that. Yeah, they could do that. Let's just go here, I guess. Get away from the rook. All right, so because I'm ahead so much material, I mean, I'm up a queen, trading pieces just simplifies things and makes my life easier. Even though this is a pretty nice bishop, I'm going to go ahead and trade it in this particular case just to get closer to the endgame. I'm going to grab this pawn. I'm going to grab this pawn. And I'll probably bring this rook over and look to maybe try to trade here at some point. Let's just go ahead, double up the rooks. And so, yeah, anything that can force a trade is going to be good for me. So I'm going to go here. They either have to trade or let me get a free pawn. Okay, so of course I could take the rook and they take me back, but I actually have a better move that simplifies the game even more. Can you guys see that? If you had a chance to look at that, it's actually just taking the rook here. And of course they're going to take my queen, but then I get two rooks for the queen, which is an even trade, roughly. But more importantly, I totally simplify the position to where there's nothing I really have to worry about. The king and the pawns aren't going to do anything to me. I can use my rooks to checkmate. I can go get a queen and checkmate, whatever I want to do. So you want to be looking for those opportunities to simplify the game. I'm going to play g5 here and threaten checkmate with my rook. You want to simplify the game, especially when you're in low time situations, right? We'll take here. I will go here. And we're going to checkmate the king over here with the rooks, I think. Just going to go here. Take this guy. That's going to be checkmate. And I don't see how the king can get away because you can't go here, you can't go here, you can't go here. Everything is kind of cut off. All right, so we'll just take for the checkmate. All right, so our opponent played well, except there was that mistake that I was talking about, right? And you're going to see that at 1200, at 1300, at 1400. What's going to happen is you're going to see it less and less and less as you get higher and higher and higher. So if you're at 1200, you're going to pretty much see something like that every game. 13, 1400, you might see it, 8 out of 10 games. 14, 1500, you might only see it 6 out of 10 games. 17, 1800, you might only see it 2 or 3 out of 10 games, right? Like those big mistakes get less and less the higher that they are. And so just something to keep in mind. All right, let's check the game review here. Oh, 96. Nice. So we played pretty well. They actually played good. 87. I mean, that was a decent game for them, except for that one massive mistake, right? I mean, look at that. They were hanging with me the whole game until they just blundered the queen, right? And so it's very important. If they would have slowed down, I think they would have had a really good chance to, do better. All right, let's jump into the next game. Here we go. All right, what's on my list here for white? We did get to play the Budapest Gambit. That was great. I have the Evans Gambit we have not played yet. Let's try for the Evans Gambit, guys. So we're going to attack the pawn. I think they're going to defend. No, they play this. Yeah, we can't do the Evans Gambit against this. Ah, Halloween Gambit. We can play Halloween Gambit. Let's try Halloween Gambit. So we need them to play knight c6 here. No, they go bishop b4. Okay. So I don't really know any particular lines against this. I think just developing and lining up on the weak spot is probably a good way to start. So let's just play bishop c4. They take. Okay, I'm going to recapture. So normally you would take towards the center. That's the general principle. But in situations like this where I'm trying to develop quickly, especially in these aggressive e4, e5 openings, I actually like to make an exception to that rule and take with the D pawn for two reasons. Number one, it immediately opens up my queen and puts pressure on the center, which is nice. And number two, and probably more importantly, the bishop is now immediately let out, because otherwise I have to spend a move moving my pawn forward before I can develop the bishop, right? But in this case, it's just ready to go. I don't have to waste any time. And that's really nice. And actually, I think I am going to take advantage of that and immediately go bishop g5 and pin this guy. And we might have the opportunity to do a fishing pole trap. Here we go. I think we will. So fishing pole trap is h4 in this situation. And the idea is after they take, you take, you're clearing out the knight. Sorry, you're clearing out the knight so that you can follow up with the queen and checkmate the king. Now, it's a little bit interesting because the knight could actually jump to g4. If I take, let's say they take me, queen h5, threatening the checkmate. Yeah, I think that would work just fine. I think that would work just fine. So here we go, fishing pole trap. Let me just check one more thing. What if they take the e pawn? Does that change anything? No, I don't think so. I think we're still going to be moving our knight somewhere. Actually, that one is interesting because the queen could come to g5. Okay, so it's a little bit tricky. It's a little bit tricky. I'm just trying to figure out what do I do against this. Takes here. How do we get the queen over there to checkmate? That is the question. We could go queen d5, hits the knight, and then castle, and then use the 8. Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna make a decision here that's a bit risky because I don't see exactly how this is gonna work out. Sometimes the fishing pole trap works much better, but even so, I think just the fact that I'm opening up the H file and kicking the knight away is very significant, and that is worth a piece, in my opinion. That's worth a piece. Okay, so, you know, if this was a longer time control game where I had a couple hours on the clock and I'm playing against a really strong player, you know, I would probably think about this much more. But it's a 10-minute game. It's a rating climb against, you know, 1100. This is going to be fine. And I think we're going to be able to figure out a way to take advantage of this. So, and actually, I'm already seeing a move that I didn't consider before that looks really good, queen d3. And why is queen d3 such a powerful move? Well, this is a key takeaway here, guys. When you're looking at a position like this, you want to ask yourself, okay, what's the biggest strength in my position? What's the biggest weakness in my opponent's position? Well, it's the king right here. If I can get my queen over here, this is checkmate, right? So queen d3 is basically saying, look, if you move your knight somewhere, the game is over. So you can't take here. I would just take you. And then again, checkmate. You can't go there because of the pawn. If you play d5, I just take it. If you play f5, I just en passant. Actually, you can't play f5. What am I even saying? There's a check. So I don't see how black is going to actually save their knight. So let me just play queen d3. And you can see how dangerous it is when you have a rook on an open file on a king like this and there's no knight to defend. It's extremely dangerous. And I think we're going to see a quick checkmate here in a few moves. So this is what's called a fishing pole trap. Okay, when somebody attacks your bishop with a pawn. You can play h4. It's important, obviously, that we have our rook here. If we were castled, for example, this would not be the same situation. You do need the rook to help you. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense. But this is very, very dangerous, especially at, you know, lower levels, like below, I don't know, below 1800 or something. Like, a lot of people don't really know how to handle this, don't know how to deal with this, and you can get some very quick and easy wins. I'm going to adjust my speakers for one second. They shut off. Okay, let me see if that did the trick. So yeah, black's trying to figure out how to save their knight and also not get checkmated, and I just don't see a way that they can do it. The other thing about the position is, remember when I captured here, I was able to play that super quickly? Look at black's pieces. They haven't really had a chance to develop. And this could be a totally different game if they had some more pieces that were out and could defend, and they would have more options, right? But because I was able to do it so quickly, it didn't happen. Okay, so they take here. It does temporarily defend, but the problem is I'm just going to take the knight. And we still have the checkmate threat. We got our piece back, and black's in trouble. I mean, they can't even block the queen with that because of the bishop. G6, that's checkmate immediately because of the bishop. This is checkmate immediately. It's just, the game is just over. I guess rook e8 might be the only thing they could try, but I even see a checkmate there. If you guys want to test your tactics, if they play rook e8, what is the best, most efficient way to win the game? Okay, they didn't do it, but let's just go back. If they would have played rook e8, what should you play? Well, the answer is rook h8 check. The point is you don't want to let their king run away. Because if the king escapes, it might take you longer. So you play rook h8 check, forcing the king to come back, and then boom, checkmate. If you would have started with check, then they're going to run. And yes, you can go check, but then they're going to run, and they might actually get away. So that was a nice little tactic there. But they played g6. Look at the pin. Notice how powerful it is. That's actually just checkmate. So, nice example there of the fishing pole trap. We've played that a few times in this series already. That was a good one. Check the game review. Okay, yeah, 90. Looks like we might have made one mistake there. I don't know what it was. Let's see. Yeah, I don't think it loved the move h4, the engine, but it's not bad. It actually says it's an option. It's a good option. Yeah. Oh, okay. Even better than this was knight takes e5. So basically just saying, look, I'm going to come over here with my queen, and if you take me, what is Stockfish's idea? Bishop takes f7 check? I didn't see this at all. Rook takes? Oh, wow. Wow. Look at this move, guys. Rook h8, forcing the king to move into the fork. Wow. And then there's even another fork here. Oh, it's not that good because the knight blocks. But still, that was beautiful. Man, didn't see that one at all. Okay, wow. Stockfish is so good. All right, let's jump into the next game. 12:55. They play e4. What do I have against e4 that I'm supposed to be playing? Don't really see a whole lot on my list, so we'll just keep it simple here. Just develop the pawn, bend it. Okay, a Scotch game. Yeah, all right, well, we're going to take it. And against the Scotch, I like to go bishop c5, attack the knight. And if they take, okay, we have an in-between move here. This is called a Zwischenzug. Instead of just taking back, we can go queen f6. And the point is we're threatening checkmate. So that's a much more powerful threat. and the knight can't really save itself. If it tries to go back here to save itself, it doesn't really help. We just take it. We still have checkmate threat, and then we would also have a threat here, so that's even better for us. So I think the best thing for white to do is just move their queen. You have to like move your queen here to defend. And then we'll take the knight. So this is like a theoretical line that I've looked at before. I've studied it. I kind of just know this is what you're supposed to do. I didn't think of this, you know, in a few seconds. I just knew it. Looks like white maybe is surprised that, you know, a lot of lower players don't actually know this. So I think they would probably just take the knight right away. But yeah, this is the better way to do it. Because if we take right away, we have to allow the queen trade, and then we lose castling rights. But this way, we don't allow the queen trade. We are the one who's creating the threats and kind of puts white on the defensive a little bit. Nothing wrong with this line, by the way. This is totally fine for white. I think it's just an equal position. They just have to play a queen move here. I've seen people play f3, but I don't think that's a great move because it creates the weaknesses on the dark squares. Yeah, that's probably one of the better moves, queen d2. And now we take back. And I think we just take this way because I want to get this bishop out and get my rook to the center right away. Again, I kind of talked about it before, right? The general principle is take towards the center. But in these situations where you're trying to develop quickly and you want to use that file, I make an exception and I take the other way. Okay? So yeah, white's trying to castle, which makes sense. I would like to do the same thing. I'm thinking about developing my bishop here and then maybe castling. Yeah, I think that seems pretty reasonable. Just get it to a nice square. And then we can, yeah, I think now we can castle. All right, so I like that my rook is pinning this guy. Knight c3, so I wonder if I can just pin that and maybe take it and mess up white's pawn structure. That seems very reasonable. What else could we do? Yeah, I mean, that just seems like an obvious thing to attack. So actually, I'm going to just do that. No need to overthink it. Just go with what your opponent gives you, right? And that seems like a nice and easy target. Okay, and they're going to let me do it. So I'll go ahead and trade. I have to be a little careful because there's a file here. Oh, they're going to go for the queen trade. Well, this is fine because now I don't have to worry about getting attacked, right? You're not going to get checkmated with queens traded. So why did I do that? Look at the pawns. Double isolated and isolated. Those are targets. Those are weaknesses. And we'll see if we can take advantage of that as the game goes on. So I think we need to complete the development. I think if I go here, then maybe white's just going to do the same thing to me. Pin me and take me and mess up my pawn structure. So how do I prevent that? Well, I could play h6 would be one option. Or I could develop my knight to e7 instead so that if he goes there, I play f6. The question is on e7, does my knight have a future? That's what I need to determine. Yeah, I think I could probably jump around to some interesting places. So let's go knight e7. Okay, so we're planning ahead for the most obvious things that our opponent might do. They go bishop f4 instead. All right, fine. Yeah, I think I might actually jump my knight around right now, actually. Attacks the bishop, and I'm getting ready to maybe invade on e5 at some point. Not right away, but I could use this rook and go there. Okay, they just do that. Now, normally, this is a key point here. Normally, if they take this pawn, the bishop gets trapped. You play b6. But there's also this other bishop which might come in, and that's a different story. Then my king would have to leave. No, the bishop's probably still going to get trapped eventually because my rook would slide over. So I don't think I'm worried about that. I think we're just fine. So what am I going to do? I think we just put the pressure on the bishop here. Let's go knight e5, attacking this, threatening to win a pawn. But it is important that you at least think through what's going to happen here and you are aware of the little trick of trapping the bishop like that. Okay, he goes f3. Now, my instinct is saying, okay, I should move my bishop. But do you guys see a different option that might be more powerful? Well, I'm wondering what happens if I take here. okay? And if they take me back and I take them, I win a pawn. And if they take my bishop, guess what? I'll take their bishop. Now, the only thing I don't like about that is the rook would then invade on the 7th rank. And if rooks invade on the 7th rank, you got to be really careful. So I don't think I'm necessarily going to go for that line, but it's interesting. We win a pawn, we get the piece back, but then we lose a pawn and his rook invades. Yes, I can take a pawn, but he can take a pawn. It's just an equal position, but my opponent has a rook on the 7th rank. That can't be super great for me. So I think I'm just going to retreat my bishop. I don't think we need to worry about that. Let's just go back. Notice I went here because this is important. This is very important. When you have when your opponent has double isolated pawns, the square right in front of them is a nice target. Why? Because there's not going to be any pawn on either side that can chase you away, right? There's no squares like that on this side of the board because the pawns are just nice and pretty. Anywhere that I move could always be chased around by a pawn. But when you have isolated pawns like this, there are these squares here and here that are easy targets for me. So that's why I played bishop e6, because I want my knight and my bishop to be able to go there and I don't have to worry about the pawns, okay? So yeah, that's exactly what I think I'm going to do with one of these pieces. The question is which one. Bishop takes, then my knight is sitting there. That looks very good. If I start with the knight, I might just move his bishop somewhere. I don't know exactly what my follow-up would be. Yeah, I think I will go with the bishop first. So I'm threatening to take here. And by trading these pieces off, then there's nothing controlling that c4 square, and my knight is just going to be a monster. Okay? That's what we're going for. And notice, this started way back when I saw that opportunity to pin and mess up the pawn structure, and now I'm trying to take advantage of that. Bishop d4 might be a really good move, actually. Yeah, that might be a really good move. Or is it? There's some interesting things happening here. Like, for example, takes, c5 with a pin where I win the rook or win my piece back, but he might just take here. And then takes, I lose a rook. Yeah, that's not going to cut it for me, so I don't want to do that. That was actually a really good move, I think, by our opponent. If I just defend, they can take me. I can't take back because I lose a piece here, so I would have to take this way. Then they might take. Yeah, that was a very good move. So let me think about this for a moment. I really didn't want to trade, because if I trade and allow them to undouble their pawns, I'm fixing a big problem for them. But if I don't, it looks like I'm losing a piece. Yeah, so is there any way that I could salvage the situation? I don't think so. I think I do have to trade, unfortunately. Yeah, that was a great move, actually, by our opponent. I didn't see that one. All right, well, we're going to have to... Because here's the problem, guys. Like, if I move the bishop back, I lose a knight. If I don't, he's just going to take me, and then I lose the bishop. So I'm in trouble, either way you look at it. All right, we'll take... And I guess I'll just defend my knight. Let's say I go rook e8, f4. If I take, he takes c5. I'm going to get my pawn back. We're going to have a rook ending. 3, 4, 5, 6. 3, 4, 5. It's pretty equal. Yeah, we'll try that. That seems fine. Let me defend. And the reason I'm using my rook instead of my pawn is because I'm trying to avoid getting an isolated pawn for no reason. Okay, so we go into the rook ending. It's not as good as I wanted it to be, because now that he's fixed his pawn structure, he only has this one weakness, which is not really what we wanted, but it is what it is. I'm going to go here, just target the one weakness that I do see, and then we will try to figure out what to do next. White's position's pretty good, so this is going to be a bit tricky. I need to use my king. I'm just not sure where we need to go to. I really want to go here and trade a pawn, but he's going to push, I think. I think he's going to let me do that. All right, I'm going to try to use my king in the center. I think that's where it needs to be. So maybe I'll go to like e6 or something. Yeah, let's just go. We got to stop this mass of pawns. So if he ever pushes, though, I'm happy because I get to get rid of one of my doubled pawns. So it's not that easy for white to just keep pushing forward, especially with my king here, my rook here. He's got to babysit this. It's an interesting position. Okay, he is going to push, so I'll go ahead and trade off one of my weaknesses. Great. I'll probably position my king here so that this is defended whenever a rook lands there. Okay, he goes for the b file. Right. I guess I'll just play b6. I wonder if rook b5 is something to worry about. I think not. And the reason I think I'm doing okay here is because my king is in a better position than white's king. So if I go here, he takes, I take, he takes. I do have the pawn. Or I could try to just defend. Maybe I'll just defend. This is like a last resort move. Usually you're not going to move your rook like this to defend the pawn unless it's, you know, the only option. In this case, I think it is. He's going to go there. I'm going to go there. Not a big deal. Let me go here, force the trade of these guys. And now that I'm at a minute and a half, my opponent has a lot of time. I need to start moving a little bit faster because I don't have a huge advantage just yet. So let's see if we can keep going quickly here. Let's go to the second rank, keep his king tied. And let me think about this. Let's stop the pawns from moving forward. Okay, he blunders that. See, this is what too many players do. They just try to flag you, and they don't make good moves, and then they end up losing. That's what's going to happen. I can already see it. He's just trying to flag me. If you're ahead, guys, don't try to flag them. Try to play good moves. And then you're going to... That puts the most pressure on someone if you make good moves, right? I don't want my rook to get trapped here, so let's just make sure we can get this guy into the game. I'm just picking off his pawns, basically. Got to keep this guy defended. He can force me away, but then at least I'm going to get all the pawns, so... Interesting. Just resigns. All right. That was weird. All right. Let's check the game review. They played pretty well. I think at the end, if they would have just slowed down, tried to play good moves instead of just flagging me, probably would have had good chance. Yeah, they played 87. I mean, that was a great game for a 1200 rated player. They played great. They just... I don't know what happened at the end there. Very weird. Okay. Let me see. Was there anything that I wanted to mention about this game? Yeah, bishop d4 was a really good move. Such a good move. Yeah, this is actually a key point. Okay, so I almost never will use a rook to babysit a pawn like this. Almost never. Like, if there's any other plan that I can think of, I'm going to go for it. But in this particular situation, the obvious plan would be to go for this pawn. But then the rook comes in, and then the rook takes this, and it's like, this rook is just going to take all my pawns. And now I have these passed pawns to worry about. Yes, I have this guy, and maybe I can make something happen, but I just didn't want to let that happen. So I made the exception of like, all right, we're going to babysit the pawn. The other thing that's really important here is I could see that this was only going to be temporary. And the reason I could see that is because this guy is a weakness. And I'm going to go here next move and take it. So if white, for example, just tried to leave the rook sit here to keep my rook stuck, I'm just going to go here and guess what? I'm going to take your pawn. And if you try to like ever defend that at any point, guess what? Now this is freed up and I can do something like a5 or a6. And if you en passant, I take, and I've freed up my rook. Okay, this is really important. What I see sometimes beginners will do is somebody attacks a pawn, they have a lot of other options, but they just go for the defending, and then their rook ends up sitting there for the rest of the game defending a pawn, and that's terrible. Okay, that's not what you want. So I hope I hope you understand why I played it in this case, why that was an exception to the rule. There wasn't really anything else I could do, and I needed to stop the rook from coming in on the 7th rank. Okay, so yeah, that's a good learning opportunity. All right, next game. Okay, here we go. We're white. Let's play e4 again. I have the Evans Gambit. I really would like to play the Evans Gambit. Let's see if our opponent's going to give us the opportunity. Not that there's anything amazing about the Evans Gambit. It's on my list, and I haven't played it yet, so I'm just really making an effort to do that. Okay, bishop c4. We're on the right track so far. If they play bishop c5, we might have the opportunity for the Evans Gambit. Nope. d6. All right. Yeah, d6 is, you know, just a passive move. Nothing really to write home about. I think I'll strike at the center. I usually like to strike at the center pretty quickly if I see passive moves like this. h6, a6 is another one. Bishop g4, interesting. All right, so the, let's see. The first thing we have to check is there some sort of a trick? I don't think so. So what do we do here? If I take, they take. I could go back. It's not terrible. Is there any other thing? Maybe c3? Yeah, I like c3 because basically black's putting the pressure on my d4 square. So if I defend that, if they take, I take, they take. I could just leave it like a gambit. Just keep developing quickly. If they take me, yes, they get one pawn, but who cares? I'm on the offensive. Actually, they wouldn't be able to do that because they would have to deal with the check. Yeah, I like that. I like that. So we're going to go c3. Add the support here. And I also could take with the pawn. Now, it's risky because it opens up the king side. But then I don't lose a pawn in the center. But I think I would rather just gambit the pawn, castle, and go on the offensive and be happy. They're going to take first. Yeah, so I'm going to just ignore it. I'm just going to pretend like I played a gambit and castle. Not a big deal. I lose a pawn, but who cares? My king gets to safety, and I'm pretty happy. Let's go ahead and castle. And they do accept it. Okay. And I think I'll recapture here. I guess you could say there are other moves, but I'll just recapture it. Now they go for this. Okay. So at this point, we probably do need to retreat. Actually, I say that. Hold the phone. This is this is a legal's mate trap. That's what it is. Wow. Okay. So this is yeah, this is a common trap. Basically, you sack the queen. The bishop comes in with check. The king moves up. The knight comes in for checkmate. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. And if you take me, I win a piece. They just blundered. Yeah, you got it. This is why you got to pay attention to these traps. So here we go. Boom. Beautiful. This is a weird move order that I don't believe I've ever seen before, but the idea is still there. And let's see if they're going to take my queen. Oh, they took the bait. They took the bait. All right. So this is the pattern you want to remember, okay? This is the pattern you want to remember. You need the knight on c3 because that's the piece that has to deliver the checkmate. You need the knight on e5, but you come in with the check. And notice the king only has one option. Okay, look at it. Look at this. He has to go to e7. Then there's going to be f6. But when the knight lands on d5, you cover all the squares. And you get this beautiful checkmate. Look at that. Ah, so much fun. This is called the Scotch game Goring Sea-Cadet mate? The Sea-Cadet mate? What is that? Is that like a real thing? Hold up. Hold up. All right. I gotta see what's going on here. This is interesting. So we got the 89 accuracy. We had the brilliant move. All right, fine. What is this Sea-Cadet mate? What is this? King's pawn opening. Italian game transposes into the Goring Gambit. Okay, interesting. And then this is called this has a name. This is called the Sea-Cadet mate, according to chess.com. Wow. That is interesting. The Sea-Cadet mate. It literally just said Goring Gambit until the very end. Sea-Cadet mate. That's fascinating. Okay. So yeah, the Goring Gambit, you could actually play like this, I believe. Just d4 right away, if I'm not mistaken, and then you take with the knight. Oh, actually, maybe you do need the knights to be out for it to be the Goring. Oh, it is with the knights out. Okay, so let me correct myself there. So the technical way to play the Goring Gambit would be knight f3, d4, c3. Yes, this is the Goring Gambit, Scotch game Goring Gambit. And you could end up in a similar position after d6, bishop c4, bishop here, castles, knight e5. You would be at the game that we just played. Common mistake, common blunder. Yeah, very good. The other one, and this is why I was familiar with this, guys, is the Philidor defense, which is d6, okay? The bishop comes out. If they pin you, you play like knight c3. And then if they play some random wasteful move like a6 or something, bam, you hit him with knight takes e5. It's the same pattern. You see, you have these three pieces. You give up the queen, and you get the beautiful checkmate. Okay? Same idea. Wow, that was fun. That was fun. All right. Next game. The Sea-Cadet mate. How about that? How about that? Okay, e4. I guess I will play e5 here. I guess I will defend my pawn. We see bishop c4. So we can play the two knights. We can play the Gyuko piano. I like the two knights. I'm a two knights kind of a guy. I just like this. They want to go for the fried liver. Let them go for it. Oh, they play d3. Okay. I'll show you guys a little line here that I like to play against d3. Because when they play d3, they just want a calm game. They don't want any fireworks. They're just trying to, play it safe. So I like to hit them with d5 and say, nope, we're going to have some fireworks whether you like it or not. Okay? And then you take back here. And knight to g5. Okay, that's not a move that I'm used to seeing. So I have to stop and think about what's going on here now. Looks like they're trying to go for some sort of delayed fried liver. But it's my turn. So I can say something about that. Knight to g5. Yeah, I can't believe I've never actually seen this move. Huh. So they want to take, and then they want to go with the check, and then I have to go here, and we're basically playing some sort of a weird fried liver. But here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking it's a better version for me. Say I go bishop e7. Takes. Check. I move my king. What I like about that position is I can swing this rook over and attack. Yes, they can play knight c3, but I have knight b4. It's totally wild. It's a big mess. I like those kind of games, to be totally honest with you. Let's go. Let's go with bishop e7. It's gonna get wild, but that's my style, and I'm okay with that. Yeah, here we go. I'm gonna go queen f3. I'm gonna go king e6. And it's like a fried liver, but I guess it's like a fried liver, but white's played d3 and I've played bishop e7, maybe? Interesting. This is super interesting. So he goes for this. And so what I'm going to do is play knight to b4 to defend, right? There's 3 attackers, only 2 defenders at the moment. So we need another one. So let's move my knight here. I'm also threatening the fork. And that's why this is just a total mess. This is a total mess. He goes for a3. Oh, wow. This is going to be even more messy. Okay. So we could take here and get a rook, but then we lose this guy. I could go rook f8 if I want, but then he has this check, and I have to move and I lose a piece, I think. So I probably need to go for this. Yeah, I probably do need to go for that move. I don't think... Do I have any other options here? I think I have to go for this fork, right? He's going to give it to me. I think I have to. He goes king f1. Okay. So we don't have to take the rook. I mean, we could take the rook, but we could also just defend our knight, right? That's another option. I think king d1 might have been better for him there, but... Rook f8 seems to be not that powerful, actually, because... Actually, no, because then when I move my king, it is hitting the queen. Wow, that's fascinating. The rook f8 might actually make some sense. But is it better than c6 right away? Where's the queen most likely going to go? Actually, no, he just takes. He just takes with check. I can't go rook f8. He takes with check. I don't have time to take back because the queen then comes here and I lose a piece. Yeah, so rook f8 would be a blunder. I think we do have to go c6. Okay. Yeah, if he would have played king d1, now you can imagine he'd be able to take my knight. So I might have taken the rook in that situation, but then he would have taken here, and I would have tried to move and try to survive, and I don't know what was going to happen. Okay, he saves his rook. All right, well, now rook f8 makes sense, I think. Trying to get a piece onto an active square. My king is actually pretty safe now because if I need to, I can always just kind of run over here. So I think rook f8 seems to be a good idea. Let's do it. Okay. The knight's under attack. There's almost this idea of a fork, but no, it doesn't work. This guy's pinned anyway. We can't quite do that. I think we have to just save the knight. I think we just move back here. Backs the queen. And by the way, guys, this is a really good learning opportunity. When you are playing in an opening like this, like the fried liver attack that's been accepted and it's total chaos, you need to spend more time than 6 seconds or 2 seconds on a move like my opponent is doing. So this is not a good use of their time. It's just not. There's no way you can calculate all this stuff without spending a little bit of time. And I think they're going to blunder if they keep playing this fast. Like, it's just not a good strategy. So I think I'm going to move my king this way and get my bishop out. We'll go there. We're attacking the queen. And like I said, the king's pretty safe. I think we can go over here if we need to, but really I want to get bishop out. Okay, so they take. We've got this. We've got a knight that can go there, but it doesn't work because of the bishop. We need to develop this piece. We can do some random thing like this, but that just seems kind of silly. There's probably g3. Actually, g3 would allow the bishop. Maybe it's not as silly as it looks. No, but there's a knight that can come in and defend, so I don't think we want to waste our time with that. Yeah, so maybe we go bishop f5. Defend our pawn. Attack here really puts the pressure, because then we're threatening like b5 to force this guy, and then we jump in here. I like that. I like that. Also, if he tries knight d4, we have an option to take it. Okay. Yeah, this is total mess. Let's go bishop f5. Oh, what a crazy opening. I don't know if I've actually seen knight g5 in that position. I wonder if I had a move that I didn't see. Because usually people don't play knight g5 here. That I'll be interested to check this after the game. I'm really not sure about that one. Anyway, here we are. And the nice thing now is our pieces are getting out, right? Rooks are going to start getting involved. The king has a place to kind of tuck away and hide if we need it. And we're up a piece. At the end of the day, we are up a piece. Okay, so trading is usually good when you're up material. So I think I'm going to do that. If I try to run, the queen actually can jump in here, and then I'm going to be losing some pieces. I don't think I want to do that. I think I should probably trade that. Okay, he takes back, obviously, right? If I go knight f4, And he takes me. I don't want to take with the pawn because I lose my knight. But I could take with the rook. Seems reasonable. The other option would be knight b6, attacks the bishop. Knight f6, attacks the pawn. Knight f6 actually looks like a decent square for my knight. Oh, maybe I'll go knight f6 and threaten here. Yeah, I think I like that. I think I like knight f6. Okay. Getting a little bit low on time, but this is still super complicated. You could blunder a piece so easily in a position like this, or blunder worse, checkmate, queen. Like, there's so many things that could go wrong here. I'm really trying to be careful. That being said, probably around the 2-minute mark is when I'll have to play faster. Yeah, I think maybe now is the moment to get my king over here. I want to get away from the pin because I want the threat to be back. These threats to be back. Okay, b4, interesting move. Yeah, I think now we can probably snag a pawn, or maybe even do better with knight g4. So the idea of knight g4 is you have to move your queen, and then I'm going to jump in here. That's going to be very dangerous for white. I'm just scanning the board. Am I missing any tactics or anything? I don't think so. Knight e4 is good because you get a pawn, but then white's going to have time to defend. This way, you don't have time to defend because I'm hitting your queen. As long as I'm not blundering some fork or something with the queen, but I don't think so. There's no checks that I see on my king. Yeah, this is a serious threat now. Or maybe even with the rook, depending on what white does. Okay, queen h5 threatens my knight, threatens my pawn. If I take check, and he moves, let's just say here, that's almost checkmate. The bishop would take. Ooh, I could go check there and then checkmate. Yes. So that is going to lead to a checkmate, I believe. Okay, what if the king goes here? That's checkmate immediately. That's a forced checkmate if I'm not mistaken, guys. This is a safe move to play, and then we'll recalculate when the position is a little bit clearer for us. But as far as I can tell, we have a forced checkmate. Yeah, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful one. Oh, what a crazy game. Wow. So just to recap, if you go here, all right, this is checkmate immediately because the rook and my queen. If you would have gone here, I was going to go knight f3 check. The only move for the king is to take my knight because the king is stuck. But then my queen comes down, checkmate. Well, actually you could block, but then checkmate. But this one's even easier. There you go. Wow, what a wild, wild game. Total mess. Let's take a look. This is going to be a learning opportunity for me, actually. Okay, we played pretty well. My opponent had a brilliant move. Interesting. What was their brilliant move? Oh, knight f7, of course. Okay. All right, so first thing that I would like to see is knight g5 a good move here? It is not. And the reason is because f6. You don't give them the option to sacrifice because now I just take it. There is no fork. I simply have time to defend, and I'm very happy. If you go with a check, that doesn't do anything because g6, now you have two pieces that are being attacked. So the best move according to Stockfish is knight c3. Then I pin it. Then knight e4. Then I just develop, and I'm basically happy with my position. So f6 was the move, and that's why that's not a good move, knight g5. Wow. Okay, I didn't know that. I learned something there. Okay. I think I'm going to end the video here. We're right at an hour, and we just crossed 1300, so that seems like a good place to stop, 1301. I hope you guys enjoyed this and learned a thing or two. I'll see you next time. As always, stay sharp, play smart, and take care.